Hello, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a bit different, as instead of ranking one game, I will be explaining why I believe Dark Souls 1, 3, and Elden Ring are peak, and I will be ranking all three as one on my list. I've had a lot of trouble trying to choose which one to put on my list, but doing it this way seems best to me. With that explanation out of the way, let's get right into it. Dark Souls 1 is revolutionary, and for me, it changed the way I play through games. I'm a speedrunner at heart, but with Dark Souls 1, I was forced to slow down and actually look around for things, farm for levels, and figure out different approaches to certain obstacles. It was a truly massive change for me. As I usually try to run through games as quick as possible, from such a long time spent playing games like Ocarina of Time and Super Smash Bros. Melee. Videos for both coming soon. However, it wasn't forced in a bad way. I actually enjoyed having to constantly tell myself to slow down, because the game was built so incredibly well that it didn't matter to me if I was going slow. The world of Dark Souls 1 is near perfectly made, with all of the interconnectivity between areas, shortcuts leading back to previous bonfires in ways you'd never expect, and the way that bonfires are spaced out makes for an experience that is so satisfying, so infuriating, but always worth it in the end. Enemy placement is another big part of why the world feels so alive. The enemies can usually be pretty easily picked off one by one, but if you rush a bit too much, you may find yourself overwhelmed. The key is to achieve the perfect balance. For me, I will pick off enemies one by one, but if the next bonfire is within sight, I'm making a dead sprint to it. Now for the part that's probably the most memorable, the bosses. The bosses in Dark Souls 1 are a bit dated and even easy by today's standard, but back at the release of the game, the bosses were absolutely revolutionary. Some of my favorite FromSoft bosses of all time are from this game. From how Quelaag gave us all a very hard time, to how insanely hard Ornstein and Smo were on the first playthrough. I'm willing to bet a large sum of money there's a boss from this game that gave you such a hard time you had to quit several times out of pure rage. I know I sure did with quite a few of them. And the best part is that toward the end game, the bosses only ramp up further in difficulty. For example, Nito is insanely hard unless you know that divine weapons will prevent his skeleton mobs from respawning. Imagine me on my first playthrough juggling killing the skeletons and trying to fight Nito at the same time. Yeah, that scream track is still burned into my head till this day. Then you have the Four Kings, which, side note, the Abyss genuinely terrifies me. And I'm not afraid to admit it. There's something about a pure black void that makes my skin tingle and my brain panic. Now, am I the only one who has bad memories of Seath? I genuinely hate the decision to make the path leading up to his boss room a bunch of invisible crystal walkways. It was genuinely one of the few parts that I had to look up a guide for. Other than that, the boss fight and the entire Duke's Archives area was so memorable, and such a beautiful area in general. And of course, we have the Bed of Chaos. We don't talk about the Bed of Chaos. Now, for Gwyn, I want to give him his own entire section. The walkway leading down the stairs, with the souls of Gwyn's knights still patrolling even in death, to the ashen ruins of the kiln, is a marvelous aesthetic, and fits so incredibly well. And the music for the boss fight. Guys, I'm not exaggerating when I say I genuinely believe that this is one of the best pieces of music ever composed, and, in my opinion, the best final boss music in any game hands down. And furthermore, everything about Gwyn, his model, his design, the way he moves, the way he fights, his ability to move in and kill you super quickly. Let's just say this boss fight is a genuine masterpiece. The absolute perfect way to end this game. And regardless of how you played or which ending you chose, we can all agree that Gwyn deserves a place in the Final Boss Hall of Fame. If you're like me, and you love the hell out of this game, I strongly urge you to try out the randomizer. It's so well done and makes the game feel almost brand new again on every playthrough. I'll have it linked in the description, and it's super easy to install. Just extract the files into the same directory as your Dark Souls or Dark Souls Remastered.exe file, and run the Dark Souls Randomizer.exe file. It has a very simple user interface and works perfectly every time. I hope you all have as much fun with it as I have. Overall, Dark Souls 1 stands the test of time and holds up to even the top AAA games of today. It is surely one of the best games ever made, and paved the way for one of the current biggest game companies to make so many games that have become instant classics. Dark Souls 3 is a perfect sequel, and improved upon every single thing Dark Souls 1 did right. With more variety in weapons, enemies, armor, stats, magic, pyromancies, the amount of replayability is extremely high. This game has a great mixture of interesting NPC storylines, locations that are stunning, and sometimes downright eerie, and combat that somehow is even better than the first game. With the introduction of weapon arts, or Ashes of War as they're known in Elden Ring, an entire new layer of combat was unlocked. Parrying and dodging still feel just as satisfying as in the first game, and the movement is even better. Especially being able to move while drinking Estus, albeit at a slower speed, rather than having to stop and stand still like in the first game. It was the perfect time for that change, as Dark Souls 3's combat is much faster paced than Dark Souls 1. The true beauty of this game, as with most FromSoft games, shines through the bosses. The bosses in this game were entirely unique, but somehow still captured that sense of nostalgia from the bosses of the first game. And all of them were hard. There wasn't a single boss in this game that I beat first try. From Vort being aggressive and fast moving, but having his fair share of cooldowns, and plenty of windows to attack, to the Abyss Watchers, who you have to play safe against, as they are utterly relentless in their attack style. One of my favorite bosses from this game, though, has to be the Dancer. Her movements are beautifully designed and choreographed, and the entire fight keeps you on edge, with her at any time being able to multi-hit you to death. Then you have Lothric and Lorien, a boss fight that is another genuine masterclass in boss design. I love this fight. As infuriating as it can be sometimes, it was one of the most fun fights in the game for me. If I had to pick a favorite, it would be a toss-up between Soul of Cinder and Nameless King. Slave Knight Gale is probably the hardest fight in my opinion, however the Soul of Cinder takes number one thematically, and Nameless King in battle execution. The Soul of Cinder fight is generational, literally, using every single style of attack throughout several phases of the fight, to being a literal amalgamation of all of the previous lords, to once again absolutely nailing the music. This entire fight is a masterclass in thematic genius. Nameless King, however, is in my opinion the most satisfying fight in terms of dodging, attacking, and finally, after 73 tries, taking him down for the first time. As you can see, I have a lot of attachment to this fight in particular. The Nameless King is easily in my top 10 FromSoft bosses of all time. And as with all FromSoft games, the lore is never directly told to you, instead being pieced together from various NPCs, item descriptions, and world-based storytelling. In my opinion, this is a beautiful way to go about making a story. It's the type of thing you have to go out of your way to get the full picture. The first couple of times I played through the Dark Souls games, I was extremely lost and confused when it came to the story. But since then, I have learned to pay a bit more attention, and let me tell you, it is certainly worth it. The storyline of these games is so rich and lively, and most important of all, believable, that when you get into it, it's like adding an entirely new layer of game to the game. It's so satisfying to go through and track down items to be able to finally piece together how everything and everyone fits into the story and the lore, and the storylines themselves are absolute treasures. With characters returning across games such as Sigurd, Patches, and Andre, it makes for such a good experience to see them again. In my opinion, the level design of Dark Souls 3 is the single place where the game didn't do better than the first. That's not to say it's bad, not at all. Just not nearly as interconnected as Dark Souls 1 was, but what it lacks in interconnectivity, it more than makes up for in style. The style of this game is amazing. From the ruined castle setting of Lothric to the eerie swamps of the Road of Sacrifice, the beautiful stylization of the Cathedral of the Deep, the creepy feeling you get when traversing Irithyll Dungeon, the insane wave of nostalgia you get when you realize Irithyll leads to Anor Londo from the first game, the level design is truly stunning. For me, the painted world of Ariandel stands out the most, because I'm a sucker for snow-themed levels. Dark Souls 3 paved the way for FromSoft to truly become one of the greats in the video game world. And for anyone wanting to go back and experience this game again like new, I would suggest checking out the Convergence mod or the Cinders mod. Both of them change the game in incredible ways and truly make the game feel entirely brand new, with hundreds of hours of playtime between the two of them. Anyone who loves the original Dark Souls 3 will love these beautiful mods made by the community, and I will have both of them linked in the description, as well as a video tutorial on how to install them. Elden Ring is genuinely perfect. It took the normal Souls formula and completely flipped the script, and it was done so unbelievably well, from the graphic design to the freedom of exploration to the variety of weapons and magic to the sheer amount of content in the game. Elden Ring has completely changed my outlook on gaming. Before Elden Ring, I had never pre-ordered a game in my life. I simply don't believe in it. And I still don't to this day, but as someone who pre-ordered Elden Ring, I can assure you it was money well spent. I got to play this game on launch and I'm so happy I did. The story, the gameplay, the lack of any guides, and being forced to figure things out on my own, I loved every single second of my 729 hours in this game. I've gotten every single achievement in this game, beaten every single boss, collected every weapon, armor, items, upgrade materials, you name it, I've done it. This is one of the only games in my life I have beaten 100% multiple times. As for level design, it's immaculate. Another masterclass in level design, stylization, and sheer beauty. The visuals from this game are insane. From the beautiful trees and grasslands of Limgrave to the desolate Aeonian swamps of Caelid, the beautiful waters of Liurnia, to the golden brilliance of the Altus Plateau. This game is absolutely gorgeous. I don't think I know of a single place in this game that isn't visually pleasing. The architecture of the buildings in places like Academy of Raya Lucaria, Leyndell, and even Farum Azula is stunning. Even down to minute things like the color design and lighting are made with extreme care and attention to detail, and the emotions these things invoke just go to show how insanely important the small details can be. FromSoft absolutely nailed it. Then we have the storyline, which again is never thrown in your face. You get much more from the NPCs and bosses in terms of story explanation than in any other FromSoft game, but they still stuck to the trope they've created of having the bulk of story come from item descriptions, which I very much like. They've been known for this kind of storytelling for years now, and it's good to see consistency within a game company. And the story has no shortage at all of twists and turns. But I won't spoil anything here. However, I will link videos from two creators I very much enjoy watching, Smotown and Hawkshaw. Go show them some love if you want a full story recap of Elden Ring, as they both explain it far better than I can. This game took the idea of standard FromSoft bosses, cloned it, the clone, and ultimately made the bosses from this game. All of that is to say, the bosses in this game are yet again another masterclass from FromSoft. Does this company ever take an L? I mean, seriously, how do they consistently make games that are this good? But I digress. Let's start from the beginning. All of us failed the fight against the Grafted Scion on our first playthrough. I see you typing in the comments section, shut up, you're a liar. No one beat this guy first try, end of story. Then you get to the Tree Sentinel. Now, at this point, 99.9% of players decided to just run past him after dying 5 to 10 times. The 0.01%, of course, is Kai Cenat. Jokes aside, the bosses from this game utterly thrashed me. The vast majority of them, at least. But funny enough, I first tried Godfrey on my first playthrough of this game. The only boss in the game I first tried, but it was a pretty cool moment regardless. However, I want to talk about 5 bosses in specific. The first true boss of this game really packs a punch. He's fast, hits hard, and rarely gives you a moment to breathe. Whether he's wildly swinging dual swords at you, or throwing holy knives right at the moment I'm healing, or flying through the air to smash you with a giant hammer, this fight is a perfect opening to the rest of the game, and the kind of bosses you will find in it. When you encounter him again later in the game, it's at the Elden Throne. You then find out his real name is Morgot, and he is not only the son of Godfrey and Queen Marika, but that he is also a demigod and in possession of one of the Great Runes. His moveset in this fight is entirely different, and it's so elegant and well designed that this battle feels like a piece of art to me. And on top of that, the thematic significance of being able to summon Mellennia is so fitting. The fight is one of the most satisfying in the entire game and is a genuine spectacle to behold. Rodon is the most powerful demigod, and you can't prove me wrong. He is also the most wholesome character in the entire game. His horse, Leonard, has been by his side since he was a child, and when Rodon grew to a size that Leonard could no longer carry him, Rodon learned gravity magic to allow himself to be light enough that he could still ride his faithful steed. Rodon is an absolute Chad in every sense. He then made it his mission to use his gravity magic to hold back the stars themselves, to halt the fate of Ranni and put a temporary stop to her plans. Then continued to hold that magic after fighting Mellennia, getting infected with scarlet rot and losing his mind and his humanity. The sheer power of Rodon cannot be understated, and in battle, you can certainly feel it. From launching massive javelins at you from his bow, to sending you flying with his dual greatswords, Rodon keeps the pressure on you at all times. And his phase transition is also wild, jumping up into the air and flying back down to hit you with the force of a literal comet. It's a one-hit kill at any health and armor level, and if anyone is deserving of a move like that, it's Rodon. Furthermore, the thematics of this fight are something I will never forget. Being able to summon a whole slew of various NPCs from throughout the game, depending on who you've met up to this point, is such a good concept for Rodon, both from a gameplay and lore perspective. A literal god who's lost his mind and humanity can only be felled by an army of the best warriors the Lands Between has to offer. A perfect fight with a perfect ending. This is, in my opinion, the hardest fight in the game, for any character overall. Fire Giant is a unique boss in that he is possibly the most annoying boss to get stuck on. From what I understand, you're either good at fighting him or you're bad at fighting him. There is no in between. Fire Giant will be the point in the game that if quitting for good is an option for you, you'll do it here. This fight is so infuriating at times, but so satisfying to finally overcome. From his massive AoEs, to the fireballs that will track you down and explode, to the massive plate he will use to smash you into the ground. This boss is hard to dodge. Dodging the Fire Giant isn't about moving out of the way, it's about timing your invincibility frames to get you through his hitbox frames. Conventional dodging won't work here. And furthermore, he has such a huge stride, being a giant and all, that catching back up to him when he dodges away from you is an entire task of its own, opening you up to being attacked again most of the time. However, Fire Giant is truly one of the most satisfying bosses to finally beat, in my opinion. Mellennia is probably the hardest conventional boss I've ever fought in a video game. Easily one of the most punishing bosses in the entire game, and holder of a fairly decent Great Rune. Mellennia wrecked me, over and over and over again. This boss genuinely brought me closer to quitting this game than any other boss in the entire FromSoft library. That being said, her design and moveset make for a very humbling experience. Her sword seems to cut straight through your armor like butter, and her scarlet rot buildup will keep you on your toes every second she's alive, which will be a long time considering she heals every time she lands a hit on you. Her second phase has given birth to so many good memes and reactions from various people. I can't remember how many attempts it took me to finally beat her on my first playthrough, though I would estimate over 100. The fact that Mellennia is so strong is also shown within the lore, where she fought Rodon to a draw, and was directly responsible for infecting him with Scarlet Rot, and further, the entire Caelid region. Mellennia is one of the strongest characters in lore and gameplay alike. To be completely honest, I didn't like the Elden Beast fight. It felt too over the top for me thematically. I feel like having Ratagon and a second phase with both Ratagon and Marika fighting together would have been awesome, though I don't know if that would fit lore-wise. Anyway, Ratagon in my opinion is peak Elden Ring. My favorite fight in the game, hands down. I absolutely love everything about Ratagon as a boss, from his design to his arena to his moveset. He hits hard and he is relentless. And on top of that, I swear he gets harder if you summon a companion. And I don't mean stat-wise, I mean I feel like his AI gets more intense. But for me, what truly brings this fight together and makes it legendary is the music. The music is absolutely perfect. It's right up in the same tier as Gwyn's boss fight from Dark Souls 1. As you can tell, I love Ratagon a lot, and his boss fight is so damn memorable. Unfortunately, it's somewhat ruined by me for the Elden Beast section after it. Regardless, Ratagon is the perfect way to end off a damn near perfect game. And then the DLC dropped. Everything in Elden Ring is phenomenal. From the world design, to the enemies, the item crafting, to the sheer amount of replayability. If I could recommend any game from the three I covered in this video, it would honestly have to be Elden Ring. All of these games are so insanely good, they're worth checking out for anybody looking for a good game to play, or looking to go back and relive nostalgia through mods. And these are the things that, in my opinion, makes FromSoft one of the greatest video game developers of all time, hands down. Now, since these three games are being ranked as one, I'm going to have to put FromSoft in the number 3 spot. If you like videos like this, let me know in the comments down below, and like and subscribe for more. It really helps me out so much in the long run. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.